Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the Super Rich Supervillain Scenario. In order to play this scenario, first of all, you're going to need to have Strangerville game pack along with the Sims 4 base game. That's because this is the pack that will give you access to the secret agent career, which you will need in the scenario. And in order to start this scenario, you just push the big play scenario button and then scroll down and it's right here. And in order to complete this scenario, you need to play with one sim who is a young adult or older and have 500,000 simoleons while in the villain branch of the secret agent career. Now, I want to point out that this says have 500,000 simoleons and not make 500,000 simoleons. That's a big difference because you're going to make way more than 500,000 simoleons during the course of the scenario, or you can. But they need to have this with them, the 500,000, when they reach the villain branch of the career track. That's what causes it to succeed. The sim you use for this scenario really doesn't matter. It can be any sim. They don't even have to be evil. Oh, it randomized to evil. So this sim could play the Super Rich Supervillain Scenario. It doesn't matter what aspiration you have. None of that really matters. Fortune Hunter aspiration is a good one, but none of this is going to matter. All that matters is that your sim is in the secret agent career and making money. You don't have to create a sim for this challenge. They just need to be a young adult or older. And you can download a sim from the gallery. You can make a sim, or if you prefer, you can choose a sim living in any neighborhood in the world. That's the other thing about this challenge, is you don't have to choose a specific neighborhood either. You can live anywhere. So for my scenario, of course, I lived in San Myshuno, and I lived multiple places during this challenge, and that's actually a pretty good thing about this challenge, which we'll go into in a minute. I recommend that you pick a better neighborhood when it comes to things like collectibles. I started here in the financial district because I thought it would be funny. Not that one. I thought it would be funny to live in this little apartment, which has a secret and needs TLC and is run down, and my sim was a snob and materialistic. I thought that was funny. But ultimately, this neighborhood wasn't the best one because it didn't have a lot of collectibles. I did stay in the city the entire time just because I was doing it more from a storytelling standpoint. But if you're trying to hurry the challenge along, I would recommend the older neighborhoods like Willow Creek, Oasis Springs, New Crest, Magnolia Promenade, and Windenburg if you have it. Those neighborhoods have a lot more collectibles, and since this does come with Strangerville, if you wanted to do the Strangerville mystery at the same time, you could also do that. Now, the challenge itself is actually not the most difficult challenge. It is tagged as an intermediate challenge, and I think that's because making money can be a little bit challenging for some people. If you're new to the game, you might really not know all the different ways that you can make money. Also, some people just aren't as good at making money. I'm one of those people. That was what was daunting to me in the challenge, was 500,000 is a lot of simoleons. And when you start your sim, let's say that you choose a legacy heir. When you begin the scenario, it's going to take all of your money down to 0. So even if your sim already had 500,000 simoleons, that's going to get erased. So I do recommend, if you're starting with a pre-existing sim, to move them into their own household before you begin the challenge, so that their family doesn't lose all their money too. So my overall thoughts on this scenario are that I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was actually a really well done scenario, despite the fact that the goals are rather simple in the long run. You just have to grind through your career and do whatever you can to make money. But the interesting thing about this scenario is that it is extremely versatile. When my sim started out, he was alone, and then he ended up going on a date with his neighbor, and who a sim that was already his friend because he was a previously played sim. And then from there, they ended up falling in love and getting married, and she moved in with him, and that did not end the challenge. The apartment was too small and was not working for what I needed them to do. So I moved them to another apartment, and it did not fail the scenario, which is a big deal because the unlucky chef scenario, alternately, if you move out of your starter spot, you fail the scenario. You have to stay where you were. So that kind of versatility is really great. However, it's also versatile in a lot of other ways because you can start it with a sim that you've already played. You can start it in any world. You can do things to make it easier on you. Like if I had wanted to, I could have sent my sim to university first and had him take classes to learn how to become a secret agent and start at a higher point in his career. There are so many different ways that you can begin this scenario or set up for this scenario even before you start. A lot of the choices you're going to have will just depend on what packs you have. Like, for example, another thing I could have done is I could have moved him into a tiny house and had him, have bonuses to his skill gain early on, which I didn't do that either. I mean, there's so many things I could have done. I only played it the way I did because I wanted to do more of a storytelling standpoint. I also wasn't prepared for how long the scenario actually took. I thought the money making part was going to be hard because, like I said, I'm not great at making money in the game. That's not my strong suit when I play. But getting through a career and stuff like that is generally not as difficult for me, and usually the day-to-day gameplay goes pretty quickly in my opinion for a sim. And in this instance, I had turned off aging only because I was going to use this save for other things in the future, and I still might. I didn't want the population to age out while I did this scenario. I also thought this scenario wasn't going to take 69 sim days, but it did. And having aging off means that everybody is still where they were age-wise when I started. But if I had been playing on normal lifespan, which is my usual way to play, Enzo would have been an old man. Imani would have been old. I don't think they ever would have got married because of how long it was taking. And, with growing together, that really changed the dynamic of how you handle careers. Getting burnout is a real issue that you have to figure out how to handle it. But that just shows how versatile this is. There's so many ways that you can play it, so many things that can affect it, and that's why I really enjoyed this scenario. And when it comes down to it for challenge, I do think it is fair to say it is an intermediate challenge. If you're new to this game, it might not be the easiest scenario in the world. It might not be something that is intuitive on how to make money or how to get your career to level up, different things that you can do to try and maximize that. As a new player, this could be a really challenging scenario. For other people, it's going to probably be really easy. And of course, you can always go the route where you just cheat and then you win. And I'm not going to say that that's wrong because I think however anyone plays is how they want to play it. But if you actually want to do a scenario that takes time, then this is it. And also, I do think it's a great scenario for starting a story, of giving yourself a jumping off point. That is the goal of the scenarios, is to give you a starting point for your sims. And this scenario really did do that for me. Also, one thing I want to say about this particular scenario, even though it was just Enzo doing the scenario itself, it was all based on him getting to the end. It reminded me a lot of The Sims 2 in a way, with the lifetime aspirations. In The Sims 2, you had one aspiration and it would take your entire life to fulfill that. And then once it did, you got this big reward. But then, of course, in The Sims 2, you couldn't change that ever. I could now start a new scenario with Enzo and Imani, of course. But just having that overall goal that wasn't a bunch of levels and was something that was going to take his entire life to complete, that's why it reminded me of The Sims 2. Well, that is my review of this challenge. I do recommend it. It is a fun way to spend your time in the game. And the thing I really enjoyed is that your Sims could live their life around the scenario. The scenario was just something to slowly work for over time. So I'm going to be rating these out of 5 stars, and I actually give this one a 5 stars. I know this is the first one I've rated, but I just think that it met all the qualifications for being versatile, for being moderately challenging, for being a good storytelling starter, and for overall just being a fun challenge to play. So that's my review, and thank you very much to everyone who watched my scenario. If you didn't watch the series, that's fine. I understand it's a pretty long series with 24 videos. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye!